Georgia has executed a woman for the first time in 70 years. 47-year-old Kelly Renee Gissendaner was pronounced dead by lethal injection early this morning. She was convicted in the 1997 murder of her husband. Gissendaner was singing Amazing Grace before she died.
At 12:21 a.m. on September 30th, 2015, something happened in Georgia that hadn't occurred in 70 years. Inside the sterile walls of Georgia Diagnostic and Classification Prison, a woman lay strapped to a gurney, IV lines running into her arms. Her name was Kelly Gissendaner, and she was about to make history. Kelly Gissendaner became the first woman executed in Georgia since 1945. She actually broke a 70-year streak with a crime so calculated, so cold-blooded, that it shocked everyone. Kelly wasn't the one who held the knife. She wasn't the one who delivered the fatal blows. Yet here she was, paying the ultimate price while her accomplice sat safely in a prison cell, serving life instead of facing death. Stay with me as I explain to you how a mother of three got herself in a twisted love triangle that led to her execution. Please like this video, share, and subscribe to this channel if this case touches you. Let's begin. In 1997, Kelly Gissendaner was 28 years old and drowning in a marriage she desperately wanted to escape. She had 3 children and a husband named Douglas, who loved them all like his own. Douglas wasn't their biological father, but he had stepped up when Kelly needed him most. He worked hard, paid the bills, and tried to hold their fractured family together. But Kelly's heart belonged to someone else. Greg Owen was everything Douglas wasn't: exciting, dangerous, and completely devoted to her. While Douglas struggled to save their marriage, Kelly was planning to destroy it. She didn't hide her feelings anymore. She told friends she was in love with Greg. She told anyone who would listen that she hated Douglas. Kelly faced an impossible choice. If she divorced Douglas, she would lose the house, the stability, and the financial security her children needed. Georgia's divorce laws weren't kind to unfaithful wives. She would walk away with almost nothing. But if Douglas simply disappeared, she could have it all: Greg, the house, the insurance money, and her freedom. The idea started as whispered conversations between lovers. Kelly would complain about Douglas to Greg, painting him as the villain in her story. She made Greg believe that Douglas was the only thing standing between them and their perfect life together. What began as pillow talk slowly transformed into something much darker. Kelly had found her solution. She wouldn't divorce Douglas. She wouldn't leave him. Instead, she would make him disappear forever. All she needed was someone willing to do the dirty work. And Greg Owen, blinded by love and manipulated by Kelly's lies, was about to become her weapon. February 7, 1997, was a cold winter night. Gregory Bruce Owen crouched in the darkness near a quiet home in Auburn, Georgia. He wasn't there by accident. He was waiting for Douglas Gissendaner to come home from work. When Douglas's headlights finally appeared in the driveway, Owen made his move. He stepped out of the shadows with a knife in his hand, forcing Douglas into his own car at knife point. Douglas had no choice but to obey. One wrong move and the blade would end his life right there. Owen drove Douglas through the dark Georgia roads to a wooded area in Gwinnett County near Harbins Park. The trees provided perfect cover for what was about to happen. Once they reached the isolated spot, Owen struck Douglas in the head with a nightstick, stunning him. Then came the brutal attack. Owen stabbed Douglas multiple times in the neck and back until he was dead. But Owen wasn't alone in this crime. Moments after the murder, Kelly Gissendaner arrived at the scene. Together, the two conspirators set fire to Douglas's car, watching the flames consume the evidence. Then they dragged Douglas's body deeper into the woods, hiding it among the trees, where they hoped it would never be found. The discovery of Douglas Gissendaner's burned car in the Gwinnett County woods sent shockwaves through the investigation. When police found Douglas's body hidden among the trees, they knew they were dealing with a carefully planned murder, not a random crime. The evidence told a clear story of conspiracy and betrayal. Douglas's wallet remained untouched in his pocket, ruling out robbery as a motive. The location of the burned car and body suggested the killers knew the area well. Most importantly, the brutal nature of the attack, multiple stab wounds to the neck and back, indicated this was personal. As investigators dug deeper into Douglas's life, they focused on the people closest to him. Phone records, witness statements, and financial documents began painting a picture of a murder plot that had been months in the making. The trail of evidence led directly to two people, Kelly Gissendaner, Douglas's own wife, and Gregory Owen, the man she had convinced to kill her husband. Both Kelly and Owen were arrested and charged with Douglas's murder, but their legal fates would take very different paths. Before the case went to trial, prosecutors made an offer that could have saved Kelly Gissendaner's life. They presented both Kelly and Gregory Owen with the same plea deal, life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. It was a serious sentence, but it would spare them from the death penalty. Gregory Owen, the man who had actually stabbed Douglas to death, accepted the plea agreement without hesitation. He knew the evidence against him was overwhelming, and life in prison was better than facing execution. But Kelly Gissendaner made a decision that sealed her fate. She rejected the plea deal, choosing instead to fight the charges in court. This choice proved to be the most costly mistake of her life, setting her on a path that would ultimately lead to the death chamber. In 1998, Kelly Gissendaner faced a jury that decided whether she lived or died. The evidence against her was devastating, but the most damaging testimony came from an unexpected source, Gregory Owen himself. As part of his plea agreement, Owen took the witness stand and revealed the shocking truth about Kelly's role in the murder. He told the jury that Kelly had first approached him about finding a way to get rid of her husband 3 months before the actual killing. Owen's testimony painted Kelly as the mastermind behind Douglas's death. He explained that Kelly believed murder was the only way to get Douglas out of her life, while still keeping the house and collecting money from his life insurance policy. She wanted her husband dead, but she also wanted to profit from his death. The prosecution's case became even stronger when they revealed Kelly's behavior during the trial itself. She had threatened witnesses who might testify against her, and had even plotted to pay someone to lie under oath, to commit perjury on her behalf. When the jury delivered their verdict, Kelly Gissendaner was convicted of orchestrating her husband's murder and sentenced to death. Meanwhile, Gregory Owen, the man who actually killed Douglas, received life imprisonment and would eventually have a chance at freedom. Kelly Gissendaner's life on death row began at Metro State Prison, where she would spend over a decade waiting for her execution. When that facility closed in 2011, she was transferred to Arundel State Prison, where something remarkable began to happen. Behind bars, Kelly experienced a religious conversion to Christianity that would completely transform her character. The woman who had once plotted her husband's murder became a source of hope and healing for her fellow inmates. She dedicated herself to ministering to other women in prison, offering them comfort and guidance during their darkest moments. Kelly's influence on other inmates was extraordinary. She would speak to women through the air vents that connected their cells, reaching out to those who felt hopeless and alone. Her words prevented several women from committing suicide, giving them reasons to keep living when they had given up on life. The women Kelly helped formed a special bond that lasted even after their release from prison. They called themselves the Struggle Sisters, a group united by Kelly's encouragement and support during their time behind bars. These women were so moved by Kelly's impact on their lives that they created a video testimonial sharing how her words had encouraged them to turn their lives around. Kelly's transformation was genuine and profound. The woman who had once been consumed by greed and hatred had become a beacon of hope for others. She had found redemption in the most unlikely place, using her remaining years to help heal the broken lives around her.
As Kelly breathed life to me through an air vent, life became worth living. And my talents and giftings and love worth giving and educating myself and others, being taught theology in a community of new sisters and brothers who never found it all.
In 2010, Kelly Gissendaner made a decision that would define her final years on death row. She enrolled in a theology studies program designed specifically for prisoners, run by a consortium of Atlanta area divinity schools that included the prestigious Emory University. Kelly threw herself into her studies with remarkable dedication. She became fascinated by Christian thinkers like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German pastor who was executed by the Nazis for his resistance to Hitler, and Rowan Williams, the former Archbishop of Canterbury. These theologians spoke to her about faith in the face of suffering and finding meaning in the darkest circumstances. Kelly successfully completed her theological degree program through Emory University, an achievement that seemed impossible for someone on death row. Kelly Gissendaner's journey to the execution chamber was marked by 3 separate dates with death, each one delayed by circumstances beyond anyone's control. Her first scheduled execution was set for February 25, 2015. As the date approached, Georgia was hit by a severe winter storm that made travel dangerous and disrupted normal operations. Prison officials had no choice but to postpone the execution until the weather cleared. The second execution date was rescheduled for March 2, 2015. This time the delay came from an unexpected source: the lethal injection drugs themselves. Prison officials discovered that the pentobarbital, one of the key drugs used in the execution cocktail, appeared to have been spoiled due to improper storage conditions. The execution was immediately halted while officials investigated whether the drug was safe to use. Later testing revealed that the drug hadn't actually spoiled, it had simply precipitated out of solution because it had been stored in temperatures colder than recommended. The third and final execution date was set for September 29, 2015. Once again, Kelly's lawyers filed last-minute appeals, causing another brief delay. But this time, the delays would not save her life. The legal system had run out of options, and Kelly Gissendaner's time was finally running out. As Kelly's final execution date approached, an unprecedented coalition formed to try to save her life. The campaign for clemency brought together voices from across the political and religious spectrum, all united in the belief that Kelly's death sentence was wrong. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano made a personal appeal on behalf of Pope Francis himself, asking the Georgia State Board of Pardons and Paroles to spare Kelly's life. The Pope's intervention was extraordinary. It showed that Kelly's case had attracted international attention and concern. The support didn't stop with religious leaders. Correctional officers who had worked with Kelly during her years in prison wrote letters supporting her clemency application. These were the people who knew her best, who had witnessed her transformation firsthand. Norman S. Fletcher, the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia, also urged clemency, arguing that capital punishment was not proportional to Kelly's crime. Even Republicans joined the cause. Bob Barr, a former congressman, and the Georgia Republican Party's general counsel both supported clemency for Kelly. Despite this remarkable coalition, the Georgia Board of Pardons and Paroles declined to commute her sentence on September 29, 2015. In Georgia, the governor has no power to grant clemency. The state is one of only 3 in the nation where this power rests solely with the parole board. September 30, 2015 was Kelly Gissendaner's final day on earth. As the hours ticked away, she was granted one last privilege: the right to choose her final meal. For her actual final execution, Kelly requested a much simpler meal than her previous requests: cheese dip with chips, Texas fajita nachos, and a diet frosted lemonade. This was significantly different from the elaborate feast she had ordered for her earlier scheduled executions in February and March. During those previous dates, she had requested enormous meals. The contrast between her final simple request and her earlier elaborate orders reflected perhaps a different state of mind as she faced her third and final execution date. Kelly's last moments were unlike anything witnesses had ever seen in an execution chamber. As the lethal drugs began flowing through her veins, Kelly started crying and praying. Then, in a voice filled with emotion, she began singing Amazing Grace.
Describe it, forgive me.
Well, she was strapped in the gurney, and there's already the tubes were hooked up to her when we got in there. She apologized for what she did. She said she was sorry that that amazing man lost his life because of her. And once after the execution started, she began singing Amazing Grace and sang it all the way through.
The hymn that had sustained her through her darkest years on death row, her voice echoed through the sterile execution chamber, bringing an unexpected moment of beauty to the grim proceedings. Kelly's final words were a message of love and redemption. She spoke directly to people she cared about. "And I love you, Sally. And I love you, Susan. You let my kids know I went out singing Amazing Grace." Then she turned her attention to Douglas's family, offering the apology she had carried in her heart for 18 years. "And tell the Gissendaner family I am so sorry. That amazing man lost his life because of me, and if I could take it back, if this would change it, I would have done it a long time ago. But it's not, and I just hope they can find peace, and I hope they find some happiness. God bless you."
I just want to tell my kids that I love them and I'm proud of them. And no matter what happens tonight, love does beat out hate. You keep strong and keep your heads up. I love you. I want to tell my lawyers thank you for all they've done. No matter what happens, I know you've done your best and I love you all.
That's the end of the statement for Kelly Renee Gissendaner.
At exactly 12:21 a.m. on October 1, 2015, Kelly Gissendaner took her final breath. She became the first woman executed in Georgia since Lena Baker in 1945, and the only woman executed in the United States in 2015. The most troubling aspect of Kelly Gissendaner's case lies in the stark difference between her fate and that of Gregory Owen. Kelly, who orchestrated the murder but never laid a hand on her husband, was executed by the state of Georgia. Owen, who actually stabbed Douglas Gissendaner to death with his own hands, received life imprisonment. This disparity raises uncomfortable questions about justice and proportionality in the American legal system. How can the person who planned the crime receive a harsher punishment than the person who committed it? The answer may lie in the choices they made. Owen accepted responsibility and cooperated with prosecutors, while Kelly rejected plea deals and fought the charges. But many argue that the ultimate punishment should reflect the ultimate crime, and Gregory Owen was the one who actually took Douglas Gissendaner's life. Did justice truly prevail, or did gender determine who lived and who died? Share your views in the comments section. I'll love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel.